Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, September the 19th, brought to you in part by the National Beef Wire. The spotlight today is on Paris Stockyards out of Paris, Kentucky. You can watch that sale on channel 6019 at nationalbeefwire.com. This beef business is kind of fishy, and if you know what I'm talking about there, several of you have sent me a message on this and wanted me to talk about it, and didn't have anything better to talk about on this visit, so I decided to look into it a little bit more. But as we start thinking about this investigation that Sonny Perdue has ordered your packers and stockyards people to do against the price fixing, the collusion, the gouging, and everything that went on since the Tyson Fresh Meats fire there in Holcomb, Kansas, we look for something that might be similar, and something that just got handed down here this week was a suit that was brought on by your biggest food retailers, the biggest of all, of course, being Walmart, and it was against your big three tuna fish people. Starkist Company this week was fined and agreed to pay $100 million for price fixing canned tuna fish. This is after earlier Bumblebee, which was another brand of tuna fish, had already agreed to pay $25 million for their part. Chicken of the Sea is still out there, and no telling what they're going to end up having to pay. But this is a big antitrust suit that's ongoing. They haven't completely finished it yet, but they've already took in $125 million due to the monopoly, the price fixing, the gouging. The deal of it was over the past 20 years or so, the demand for canned tuna fish has gone down significantly. And you would think because of that the prices would go down about the same amount. But due to those big three working together and colluding, they were able to keep the price of canned tuna fish at the same level or even higher. And finally your retailers got to smelling a rat on the deal and had the Department of Justice look into it, and the DOJ found all this, and those companies finally just decided to ante up and pay their fine. Maybe we should have got the DOJ involved in this beef colluding and price fixing, gouging, and everything that's gone on since the fire. It sounds like just normal business from your big four packers over the last 30 or 40 years should have been enough to at least get what the tuna fish people got. But in the past 6 weeks, it's just blatantly in your face. And it just goes to show you, if the P&S doesn't show up with something, it's absolutely ridiculous. Because I would say that even though we're a small industry, like I've said many times, if production agriculture people are less than 2%, the cattle and beef people are sure less than half of that. But I would still say that there's a lot more of us than they are in the tuna fish industry. But they thought that was important enough to bring that antitrust suit against them. Your RCAF people have that antitrust suit against your big four packers for colluding, and maybe they can take a good lesson from this tuna fish deal. But I would think it would be a lot easier to prove than what it was in that case. But maybe there'll be a little bit more come to fruit, and as we start giving the big grassroots push, just like all next week, guys. I've been talking to you all week about it, so if you don't do it, it's your own fault. It's your own fault. Get you a Twitter account if you don't already have one, and every day next week, from the 23rd through the 30th, we are going to tweet at Real Donald Trump, our nation's president, and we're going to inform him about what's gone on here the past 6 weeks in this beef deal. And we're going to hashtag it Fair Cattle Markets, and hopefully we'll get something done there. If we don't get anything done, like I said, it doesn't cost us anything. We've made a valiant effort. We've got some other things brewing. Got a big meeting or two coming up here in the future to address the same issues, but I think something's going to come out of this deal, and if enough of us get together, I know we hate to look for the government for help, but I think this thing has gotten past any individual or any industry group trying to get something done about it, and we can't even seem to get together enough to hold our fat cattle market up or keep the packers from completely having 100% captive supplies, as it looks like we're headed that direction. So how the heck are we going to get together and get anything done about all the other issues that are affecting these markets? But let's look at the board for Wednesday. October live cattle futures up $1.02 at $100.37. December was up 85 cents at 106.15. But this is the first time for quite a while that we've had our spot live cattle contract up over $1. And you think, well, where's all this demand coming from? Are things getting better? I think it's just the funds were bailing on your futures market really bad. They were pushing it down. They all had it shorted. Why wouldn't they? They could see the collusion, the price fixing, and the horrible shape that the beef industry was in. Why not get along for the ride? That's what they do. That's what they can take a market and push it whichever way they want to go. But now that they've gotten all the good out of it, they're starting to get out of those shorts, and as they are, they have to buy their way out, and it's enough to push that market higher. And it's working on your feeder cattle too. September feeder cattle up 70 cents at 139.87. October up $1.10 at 138.40. Your fat cattle trade did start to develop, and unusually it started in the southern plains, which normally it starts in the northern plains on some of those best cattle. You get some Iowa farmer feeders that start selling those cattle, and it starts to kind of establish the market. But this week it started in the southern plains, and with help from your fed cattle exchange. They're not getting the kind of consignments they ought to be getting on there. Nobody's really supporting it all that much, including the packers, so it's not happening too much. But we did see a couple of sales on there on Wednesday morning's auction. It's a timed auction at 101, 101 and a quarter. So that kind of helped. And then later on through the afternoon, we started seeing more sales. About 2,200 head confirmed through mandatory price reporting, and there'll be more than that because a lot of those happened after the reporting was turned in. But 2,200 head confirmed from $1 to $1.01, mostly $1.01. Texas had 900 head, and so we saw those from 101 to 101 and a quarter. That 101 and a quarter deal was on that fed cattle exchange, so that kind of is encouraging that we might get a little bit more of our market position back, and it's encouraging that we were able to gain it through some type of a competitive marketing system. Imagine that. Box beef cutout values are lower, so you got to feel bad for these packers. They're having to give up some of that $500 a head that they've been making because these beef purchasers have just flat refused to pay those inflated prices that they colluded into fixing and gaining all that ground that they did following that fire. But you see on your cutout values, your choice cuts on Wednesday afternoon down another $1.53 at 218.24, and selects down $1.94 at 191.97. And one thing of comment there was good movement on Wednesday. They finally started getting those prices back down there close to where they were at before 6 weeks ago, before that fire, and then that big press to get those prices higher while they were paying less for fat cattle. And so now your beef purchaser coming back in, stocking some of their shelves up, and there was good movement there. But look at some other things that are going on. Here on Thursday, you can get on DV Auction or Primetime Livestock Video. They've got a Primetime Livestock Video sale. It's at the barn at Joplin Regional Stockyards at 1 o'clock Central. So get on Primetime's website, and you can view and bid on that sale, or go on to dvauction.com and you can view and bid that sale at 1 o'clock Central. They've got about 3,500 head, all in big strings, load lot deals. They're on Primetime Video sale, and you might want to take a look at those. A lot of times you just see cattle right around Joplin and Springfield or North Arkansas, but they've got a lot of yearlings on there, and they're out of Oklahoma and Kansas. Actually, the biggest part of them are from there. They got Colby Flat in there. He is spreading that thing out of the four-state area. I realize that Oklahoma and Kansas are included in that, but I mean getting way out of there. He's got some cattle plumb down there in the Texas Panhandle. He's got some representatives of Primetime Video scattered all throughout the country now, and starting to get a lot more cattle on there from away from that general area. So it's worth your time to get on to Primetime Video, check out their catalog, see where those cattle are out, and if you're interested in some of them, get on there and bid on those cattle. Look at some of your feeder cattle markets. Your real-time index on Cattle Market Central late on Wednesday, sitting at 138.63, down just a dime from Tuesday's close, and that includes some big sales in the Southern Plains, including OKC West and Dodge City. So that's a good thing that we're able to hold that market up there, and all these markets are higher. But one thing you notice on there, we're starting to get more and more calves, and nobody can get excited about the calves, especially on a down market. If everything's cheap, they're definitely going to discount those balling calves the most. But you can get on there and look, and of course everybody wants a yearling, and we got the last of the yearlings coming through here over the next several weeks, and then we get into the fall calf run. It's pretty much going to be all calves, but we're starting to see more and more calves make up a larger percentage of the offerings every week now. We're not fully into the fall run, but we're starting to get into them, and they are discounting those balling calves pretty bad, guys. But if you look at the markets around, not any one particular market, but in general, a long time, I mean 60 days at least, weaned calf weighing around 700 pounds will bring about the same price per pound as a balling 500-pound steer calf. So they'll both bring about $150. And so if you want to give up those 200 pounds, you're more than, go ahead and do that. But it's worth your time to get those calves weaned. I do think this market is going to kind of come to us, even though it's going to be under a lot of pressure in October. If you can hold those cattle through October and into November, when we start getting more consistently cold weather, and everything's had a hard frost on it, and some places have had snow on their backs. If you have the ability to hold your calves through October, get into November when that weather turns, and you can wean those cattle and get a long time weaned on them, and hopefully you've already started getting those things weaned, because they sure want 45 days weaned, if not 60. But if you can do that, I think you'll be money ahead, because I think this market's going to kind of come to us. Now, yes, I'll always say that there'll be some weeks in October where the supply outweighs demand, big time. And but if we can get through that, I think our fat cattle market will start to come around a little bit, and I think the moods will be better. Hopefully, at some point they'll get that plant back open there at Finney County, Tyson. I don't know what seems to be taking so long. They can bomb a big oil field in the Middle East somewhere and take out all these oil pump rigs, and they get them back up and running before we can get a damn meat plant up and running that just burned a handful of boxes. But could be dragging their feet on that deal a little bit, and some of the conspiracy theorists are thinking that's probably the deal, but that's their business if they want to do that. But I think we'll get that behind us, and we'll be coming around. But wean your calves, give them their shots. If you have the ability to get them in one of these programs, I used to not think so, but these all natural programs, and even just your NHTC non-hormone treated programs are kind of worth it. And if you're going to be selling those cattle in a market that can take advantage of that, by all means you need to start doing it. Let's look at some of your sales. OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma, 6,700 head for the 2-day sale. That includes about 1,500 head of calves or so on Tuesday, so a little better than 5,000 head of yearling feeders on Wednesday. The sale was hot. Feeder steers $2 to $5 higher, and heifers mostly $2. Calves, if you remember on Tuesday, were $3 to $8 higher in spots 10. Look at the biggest string of cattle that I saw all day long come through Cattle Market Central. They were out of El Reno there. 249 head of 800-pound smooth steers in El Reno, $140 smooth. And that's a pretty good quote, round figures, so you guys can put a pencil to it. But that's quite a ways above our index level. And that includes all your 12 state regions there based on an 800-pound steer, so I thought that was a good one to give. Winter livestock, Dodge City, Kansas, 3,200 head there. They're getting back confidence in their market there, and then the guys are starting to bring those cattle to town. And so we're looking pretty good there. The feeders in Dodge City were steady to $3 higher. It was mostly a calf special, and we haven't had a good comparison on calves for quite a while out of Dodge City, but look at this market report to come through Cattle Market Central, automated report right from the block there. Look at some of these best tested weights of steers. 402 head of 750 pound on the average 7-weight steers. The average price on them $144.82. That was over $3 higher than last week. 430 head of 8-weight steers averaged $849 at $137.50. That was more than $2 higher. And a popular heifer weight was on the 7-weight heifers. 517 head of 7-weight heifers averaged $771 at $130.38, and that was over $1 higher. So this still's starting to come around. We've got a cattle on feed report coming out this week. They've got the placements cranked down quite a ways on them, down in the lower 90s as a percentage of same report a year ago. I think that's kind of a double-edged sword deal because people were scared to market their cattle. Especially after that fire come out, you know, people were kind of holding off on marketing their cattle. So that, you know, tells you that a lot fewer cattle were placed, but they still got to sell those cattle at some time. So that means going to be a lot of heavier weight cattle on top of our big calf run, and some of these calves are going to be carrying some size to them too, which could put your market under more pressure. But some more individual quotes. Bluegrass Stockyards East, Mount Sterling, Kentucky, 105 head of 820-pound steers at Mount Sterling bring $137.35. That's a very respectable quote there. And how about a big string of calves? Torrington Livestock Markets in Torrington, Wyoming, 128 head of 411-pound steer calves bring $186. And that's your feeder flash for Thursday.